Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever it is, wherever you are, good folks of the internet. Welcome once again to
Citizens.
denizens of the internet. Well, I'm sure we call them netizens. I've
Yes.
heard that too, and oh gosh, it's getting cliche at this point. So, all you good folks out there, welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the nerd news show every Tuesday here on all our social media platforms, brought to you by us, the folks at Nerd Caliber. And those folks are, I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on the Facebooks, and Burley _adopter on the Twitters. And joining me tonight, let's start with, let's do a hat sandwich. So we'll go bald hat, bald.
All
Introduce
right.
yourself, sir.
Well, my name is Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0, on multiple facets of the internet. I'm currently jealous of being the only one who doesn't have a green screen set up here. um, but other than that, I punch Nazis. I make various art things. I'm currently working on my comic again. Codename Blackbird, and I almost forgot my own series. And I'm rebooting my anime podcast, The Weeb Trash Can.
Good. Awesome.
Sweet.
Looking forward to it. And by the way, if you're on Windows 10 and you're using Zoom, you don't need a green screen. There's a feature that can take out anything.
Yes.
So look into that. And my bald brother, introduce yourself, sir.
Hey everybody, Greg Snyder, aka Wonder Llama, associate producer, editor, Rodney Doppelganger, Rodfather 2.0, depending on the situation. Been with Nerd Caliber for a long time, been out for a couple of weeks, glad to be back. Got a lot of stuff to get into. I'm going to give a quick, I don't know how many people in the Boston area, so it may not matter too much, but quick plug. Some fellow collaborators and I have started a predominantly photo, but some video as well, studio here in Southern Mass called Red Raven Studios. If you're interested, check us out on Facebook, on Instagram. We're terrible about Twitter, so don't bother going there. But we're doing a lot of cool stuff. We've actually got two shoots coming up this weekend. One with a mermaid, who some of you may know, and very interesting throwback to the Sgt. Pepper's era Beatles. That I may have just really dated myself with that reference, but yep, if you're interested, we do a lot of crazy, weird, interesting photography. Red Raven Studios, give us a look.
Cool. And you may have dated yourself, but I know you're not old enough to actually have listened to them live. So, and let's see, on the chats here, Luminous, welcome to the show. Welcome back. Katsumi-chan, welcome to the show. Let's see, do we have anybody? Nobody yet on the Facebooks or the Twitters. But we'll keep an eye on those and make sure that we respond to any of your questions. We have 2 weeks worth of news, folks. We were not on last week because here in the United States there was this election thing. Actually, election thing is probably the best way to describe it. So we decided to skip it because, it was kind of a tense night. So we got a bunch of stuff. So we're going to be blasting through a few things. Some of those things will be literally just, hey, this news happened. So that we have time to talk about some of the other stuff. Start right off with one of the things that we are going to talk about. And this is from more than a week ago. But we have not had a chance to talk about the loss of Sean Connery. Sean Connery passed away on Halloween. Or we found out about it on Halloween. James Bond, yes, of course. Everybody knows he was, the first... well, actually, technically not the first, but
The most iconic.
he was the iconic. He was the James Bond that everybody remembers from the 60s and into the early 70s. But he was also absolutely, a fan of nerd movies and devoted to being in nerd movies and cast in a whole bunch of nerd movies. That is from one that Greg reminded me of. Well, he didn't have to remind me, but I still... League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Yet another one of Alan Moore adaptations that he hates completely.
Max screams at cloud.
Exactly. And there's so many other amazing roles.
Highlander.
Ramirez.
All right, let's go
Yeah.
with that one. We'll go right with Ramirez. There he is, right there, from Highlander. Now, let's get this out there. Sean Connery was a what's the word we like to say when we like people? A complicated individual.
Sure.
Yes, he was.
He advocated and never backed off on this statement, occasionally hitting women. Said it was good for him. He played, in this case, Ramirez. He's a Scotsman playing a Spaniard that is actually an Egyptian. And he's done that in The Wind and the Lion. He played a North African sheikh. It's just... These are the 70s. Yeah, yes, early 70s, but still. Or that was the 80s.
In Highlander, he could be forgiven because he had the greatest costumes of all time.
Well, true.
Yes.
That's true.
I mean, you had the whole thing with Red October as well, where it's like, did he even attempt a Russian accent?
No.
He wasn't even Russian. He was Latvian.
Yep, and he didn't even attempt a
Even
Latvian accent.
better.
Frankly, most Westerners wouldn't be able to tell a Latvian accent from a Russian accent, so it wouldn't have mattered. But no, he didn't even pretend.
Yep.
He was just hired for the gravitas.
And he brought it. He brought it hard.
Did.
Of course, Dr.
And-
Jones.
Can't forget Dr.
Yeah.
Jones.
Oh, absolutely.
Just watched that for the first time in years, like 2 weeks ago.
Speaking of that movie, I was just thinking about it today with the passing of Alec Trebek as well.
Yep.
And I was thinking in my mind a line from Crystal Skull where one of Dr. Jones's colleagues was saying, we're at that point in our lives where life stops giving and starts taking away. And these two deaths kind of cements that ideology for me right now.
That's a sad observation, but it's accurate.
I personally was thinking of the fact that it was a little, it's purely coincidence, but it's a weird bit of cosmic irony that Alex
I know
Trebek
what
and Sean Connery died roughly in the same week.
Yep.
Because if any of you are fans of SNL from roughly 10 years ago, I don't remember exactly, with Will Ferrell as Alex Trebek and
Errol Hammond
as Sean Connery, it was
I love that scene so
relentlessly funny.
Absolutely wonderful. All of the people,
I'll take swords for 500, Alex.
We meet again, Trump.
Swords, you moron.
Norm Macdonald as actually as
Burt
either
Reynolds.
French Stewart or Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
So good. Anybody remember this movie? You guys don't see that, do you? In which case, you're not going to know what this is unless you've got the actual feed up on another screen or something.
I do.
All right, when it pops up, Greg.
I'll
Anything?
pull it up as well.
It's still Last Crusade.
Wow, it's taken a long time. It's
And how far behind we are.
yeah, it's live on all of my test screens here.
Possible that. Oh, there it is. Oh shoot. I totally recognize it. But yeah. Outland.
Yes, very good. Outland. He's a Earth
I wouldn't
marshal
have known
sent
that
to
one.
Titan to investigate deaths in a mining colony run by Peter Boyle.
Yep. Gave us the one of the all-time classic one-liners from movies in space. No one can hear you scream.
No, that actually came from Alien.
No, that was Outland.
Really?
Really?
I could be wrong. Let's go to the interwebs.
All right. Greg's going to go to the interwebs, and I could not at all talk about his nerd movies without Zardoz. The red banana hammock, and the Webley pistol, and the long ponytail.
Yes.
Just one of the most bizarre movies ever made. It's worth a watch. It's trippy.
I've seen images of it, definitely.
Okay. Point Rodney Brown. I should not argue with Encyclopedia Brown. That was Alien.
It was Alien, but hey, I freely admit to having my memory screw up.
So I've threatened for many years to cosplay this costume right here. My wife refuses to be seen in public if I do, for reasonably good reasons. One of the greatest things I have ever seen at Dragon Con, and that's saying a lot because it is Dragon Con, is an enormous gender-balanced group of I don't know what the plural of Zardoz is. Zardozine. Big, small, tall, skinny, boy, girl, all doing their own interpretation of this iconic. Can you call that a costume? It's a what do you call it? Bandolero and a diaper.
Pretty much.
But absolutely beautiful. Saturday night, Dragon Con, easily 15 or more, all in a group. And that's
One thing I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
After going back to A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he hated that role so much that he retired from movies afterwards.
Supposedly, yeah.
Yeah, which he was getting up in years anyway. He made his contribution to the arts.
Yep. Yeah, and it's kind of too bad. I'm not really sure what all of the objection that he had to the movie. I mean, if you watch it, it's got a few wonderful bits, and then it doesn't really hold together as a movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm not really sure what about his role he had a problem with, but maybe he did just dislike it as an entire product. Getting back to what Greg was saying about Zardoz, and I brought that picture back up. I did the same thing. The only cosplayers I've ever seen of Zardoz were at Dragon Con, and this was a group of 3. It was 1 male and 2 female Zardozians. It's his name, so I don't really think it works that way, but and the women had exactly the same costume. They just happened to have electrical tape over their nipples. So pretty wild. But that's Dragon Con. And that's Sean Connery. Sean Connery, I really hope that if there is a place for you to go to, it's a place that can forgive some of the, worst things that you've done. And that you're as happy as you've made all of us.
Indeed.
Speaking of 007.
Oh, yes.
Brings us up to our next topic. So this is like the worst kept secret ever in James Bond movies. But Lashana Lynch, in the upcoming No Time to Die, which will be upcoming eventually with all of this movie stuff, it's been officially confirmed she will be designated as the holder of 007 while Bond is absent from MI6. So she will be, as I say, the first ever female 007. The character's name is Nomi. The question is whether or not this character is going to hold on to the 007 title after the movie, whether Daniel Craig is really finally done. If it's a series about 007, that could work. If it continues to be a series about James Bond, that isn't going to work. So
yeah,
that's an interesting question. I can't see if Bond lives and comes back or whatever, and there's another James Bond movie. I can't see them not giving him the 007 designation back,
right.
Which sets up a weird. It just sets up to be weird. No idea. It's I hate to say it, but the story here, from what I've seen, is less about her getting that role than about the freaking internet losing its freaking mind.
Yeah, I was just about to make
that
black
woman has the gall, the temerity to be 007.
Yep.
I'm waiting for the quartering to speak his piece on it because, oh boy, it's going to be hilarious.
The who? The what?
The quartering on YouTube channel. It's it's a pseudo nerd channel that where he does a lot of griping about the liberal influence in pop culture.
Oh, so one of those channels that when YouTube recommends it to me, I go, "Don't show me this ever again." Okay.
Same thing with there's another one, Clownfish TV.
Yeah, if it's ever popped up on mine, and I've taken a look at, usually they're pretty honest about their titles. I immediately go right to the feature. Don't ever show this to me again.
Yeah.
Already, whether the quartering or anybody else comments on this, already people have been, so horrible to her. And in addition, for her anticipating that they will be, she's pretty much wiped herself off of all social media. And this is
yet again.
Yeah. This is one of the quotes from this article in MovieWeb from Lynch, saying, quote, "I didn't want to waste an opportunity when it came to what Nomi might represent. I searched for at least one moment in the script where black audience members would nod their heads, tutting at the reality, but glad to see their real life represented. In every project I am part of, no matter what the budget or genre, the black experience that I'm presenting needs to be 100% authentic." And I think that is absolutely wonderful. If there's a Bechdel test for any representation, there should be. If somebody writes, let's say, a 1970s, a remake of 1970s. Oh God, they already remade it, and I can't think of the name. Charles Bronson.
Death Wish.
Death Wish.
Yep.
And or Dirty Harry, for that matter. All the black characters are just basically, thugs and villains, and say stupid white people dialogue that they think black people say. That movie should not get greenlit ever. But anyway. April 2nd, 2021 is the current maybe it'll open for No Time to Die. Let's hope that Ms. Lynch will come back onto social media before then, or at all, if ever. Ty Manswell, welcome to the show. And in the meantime, cue up the speculation about what's going to happen with Bond /007 in the future.
So, I mean, just a quick, having nothing whatsoever to do with Lashana Lynch, just a question for my fellow contributors here. When was the last time you saw a Bond movie? Is it still relevant? Do you still get excited or interested about the idea of a Bond movie?
The last one I remember watching was Quantum of Solace.
Oof.
Same.
Oof. Picked a bad one.
Yeah,
I've seen all of them up to this point. I don't know when the last one I saw in a theater. I'll give you that. But I've seen everyone up to this point, within a reasonable amount of time after it's hit the theaters.
Okay.
I'm still a fan, in big part because I love Daniel Craig as an actor, and I love the tone for the most part. That the current crop of writers, directors have been taking, the sort of more Jason Bourne-esque, double cross-esque.
Yes.
I mean, Casino Royale was Jason
Brilliant.
Bourne meets On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Basically.
Completely. And that is one of my absolute favorite Bond movies of all time.
Same.
Yep.
I will say that I haven't heard good things about Spectre.
Spectre is iffy. The one before that, Skyfall.
Yes.
That was decent.
Skyfall was really good. But then again, it had a fantastic director. It was, very well done.
Anybody on the Anybody on the chat has any opinion about Bond movies, past, present, or future? Chime on in.
Please do jump on in there, folks. Been pretty quiet there on the chats. I don't know whether or not we're just everybody's still in shock from the election or something, but but anyway, we'll move on to our next topic here, and that is it's a quick hit of news with a couple of quick comments from each of the Umbrella Academy season 3 has been greenlit. Yay, big yays. 10 episodes long. Production will begin in February in Toronto. As Netflix does, they don't announce actual release dates until usually, a month at best before the actual release date. So who knows?
Oh yes.
But I'm really excited. Season 2 was awesome. Ended on an incredible cliffhanger.
Damn straight.
And can't wait.
I want to be the director of photography for the studio stills that come up with photos like this, because the photo that you got up there, with everyone looking off into a brighter future, except Klaus being very Klausy. Love it.
Yep.
I wish I could make photos that amazing.
The announcement of season 2 when was the all virtual remote dance party that they did. All really creative ideas. Whoever does the marketing for this particular operation.
So we won't see it in 2020, obviously, but it's a rare piece of good news as we're rounding the corner on the end of 2020.
Speaking of which, I got to admit I'm not the biggest Adventure Time fan, but this just completely blindsided me. I had no idea that this was even coming. Adventure Time Obsidian is dropping November 19th. The trailer looks awesome.
Yeah, it definitely does.
You get finally the real Bubbleine, as the shippers I guess like to call it. Bubblegum Princess and Marceline. The action looks fantastic. It just really looks cool, and it looks like they'll be able to maintain a really good an interesting show without necessarily having to have Finn or Jake. Marceline and PB were compelling characters on their own to begin with. They had such extensive backstory, especially in the final season when we finally get the meat of Princess Bubblegum's origins, and you see what a complex character she was in her infancy. So I got the title a little bit wrong. It's actually Adventure Time Distant Lands Obsidian.
I was going to say Distant Lands is this because it's just it's a limited series.
Yep. They're calling it a special, but yeah, it's a limited series as I recall. The trailer looks really good. It's HBO Max. For those of you who don't know.
Doesn't actually say how many episodes.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the eventual epilogue for Ice King / Simon Petrikov's whole arc.
That would be cool, although I haven't heard anything about them making that. Is that something that we know is coming?
I mean, it would be a safe bet, because yes, his arc was completed in the original series, but it would be interesting to see how he has adjusted to Ooh now that he is no longer the Ice King.
That true. Although I can see them doing, very much a sort of what they're going to be doing with MODOK. He's no longer king, so he's got to get a job at a factory or something and just make it a comedy. Luminous. Sadly, I stopped watching the Bond movies. They were getting too far removed from the Connery films. What was the last one you watched, Luminous? Because I think the minute, not quite the minute, Live and Let Die was still pretty good. But shortly after that, They moved so far away from the theme and tone and feel of the Bond movies,
Yeah, they
or of
became
the
campy.
Connery movies.
The Roger Moore era.
Roger Moore, yeah.
Kind of liken that to the Adam West era of Batman.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
The Timothy Dalton were yeah.
Okay.
You know,
Pierce
He was
Brosnan
fine.
was.
Brosnan, I thought most of his movies were really good.
Yeah, I mean,
He made
GoldenEye
a
is a
hell of a
classic.
video game.
GoldenEye is a hell of a video game. That's a
Yes,
good
it
point.
is.
Actually, GoldenEye was a fairly good movie.
I like most of his. I can't remember the name of it. The one where most of the action takes place in Iceland with the diamonds, North Korean guy with diamonds in his face, and etc. Just
Diamonds Are Forever.
yeah, no, God no. That goes all the way back into the very early '70s. That's a Sean Connery.
Diamonds on
with
the
Jill
soles of
St.
his
John.
shoes.
Hmm?
Diamonds on the soles of his shoes.
Diamonds, oddly enough, are not in the title of the movie.
Enough.
But anyway, moving on past all of that. So now we get into our first sort of, this is not really terribly good news. So this is from The Witches, the recent remake thereof, which we'll be talking about this coming Thursday at 8 o'clock on our Full Fat Spoiler Chat.
Yes.
And so it will be spoilery, so if you haven't seen it, don't watch our show. But the news here is that apparently the studio got an awful lot of grief from, what's the term I want to use? Handicapped isn't the right word, but I guess I'll use that term. People with this particular issue with their hands, whether it was congenital or whether it was from some sort of accident, that the idea that this was something that would turn somebody into a monster, having a thumb and two fingers,
Oh yeah.
is pretty crappy. To the extent that while the studio has put out just sort of a quick toss off, oh, we're sorry, Anne Hathaway came out and said, look, if I had realized what this meant, I wouldn't have done it. So one, good for her. Two, what the fuck was the designer thinking? From what I understand, the description in the Roald Dahl book is that they're sort of cat-like, and their hands and her fingers ends in claws.
Oh yeah.
It's very. Have either of you seen it?
I have not seen it yet. I'm
Not
waiting.
yet.
I'll
we
watch
watched
tomorrow.
it probably the first couple of days where it came out. It's you can even tell relatively from the screen grab you've got there. It's very reptilian, dinosaur-y,
Yeah, like the split lizard mouth
raptor.
sort of thing.
The split mouth was kind of interesting. I mean, that was a small piece. I won't say anything. I'll save it for Thursday. I'll leave it there. But yeah, I mean, I could see how if you're completely unaware of the fact that there are people who are born with split hands, that it's a real problem. This might just look weirdly scary because it's kind of reptilian and snake-like. But clearly there's a big population of people that saw this and really, took it pretty badly. That not just that it was depicted that way, but that they're so just flagrantly evil. It's demonizing largely on the they all wear it's not really a spoiler, but they all wear gloves because obviously if you're walking around in public you can't be seen with these weird
Reptilian
velociraptors.
fingers.
Yeah, velociraptor, chicken,
Yeah.
one or
Lots
the
of
other.
I'd say the thing that my whole take on it is that it was pretty tone deaf I can see that being the case in hindsight, but we have the internet for a reason. You if you're even I'm sure someone had reservations about this, and they could have just looked it up just to make sure if they wanted to.
Yeah, so the fact that the designer had to present this to the director and or the producer or both, and say, okay, this is what we're going with, and nobody went, I wonder if the fact that this looks like a disability, and I get it. That's one of the things that I have a friend whose hand looks kind of like that because he blew 2 of his fingers off with an M80 in high school. And I never, that never even occurred to me looking at this, until the articles came up. So, that's, you talk about privilege. This is, non-disabled privilege.
Yeah.
I got these and I just didn't even think that was bad, that it was something that was insulting to, those people. And, it's not excusing the director or the producer, but I can understand how they were just completely blinded by their ableness. So I'm gonna learn. You guys learn. Stop doing stupid stuff like that. Yeah. Super Mario Malachi Diaz, welcome to the show.
Howdy.
Awesome name.
Should we save talking about Anne Hathaway, everything else debatable about Anne Hathaway in this movie for Thursday?
Yes. Yeah, because we're not talking about the witches. We're just talking about this issue with the witches.
Fine.
Speaking of League of way, way less extraordinary gentlemen, this is the League competitive gamer who goes by the game tag On Fleek. He is with the game organization Sandbox Gaming. Kim Jang-gyom, and I know I butchered that Korean name, sorry. He has been fined and suspended for hate speech. In an interview, he said, and this is his words, my apologies, the only good Chinese is a dead Chinese. So yeah, he's been fined 1 million won, South Korean currency, which is $896, from Riot, League of Legends publisher, and his team fined him 3 million won, or $2,687, banning him for the whole first round of the 2021 season. And requiring him to do 30 hours of community service.
Oof.
So, yeah, esports continues to show that nobody in esports ever vets anybody that they ever sign, and, it attracts really shitty people. Not all of them.
I mean, there definitely seems to be a correlation, though, because he's like, this is going to be a bit of a generalization on my part, but a lot of these competitive gamers are equally professional trash talkers.
Yep.
If you played any amount of time of Call of Duty or similar games online, you know how savage they can be and how disrespectful they can be. So this doesn't surprise me one bit.
Yep.
Nope.
And you would think that these companies that hire these people would actually spend, even particularly in an environment where the companies that manage like idol groups or K-pop groups or anything like that literally manage every aspect of their lives, and send them to classes to teach them how to not be crappy people.
Yeah, but that would cost too much money.
So I guess it's not a cultural thing; it's a money thing, I guess.
Yeah.
So much is.
Yeah, you would think the gaming companies would at least try to do something like that.
But controversy sells.
They're banning them. No.
Yeah, but no press is bad press, and You know, that something. I'm sure that these companies will find a way to switch it to reverse it in their favor.
Yeah, I mean, I had never heard of sandbox gaming, but then again, I don't follow esports to save my life. If it wasn't for, I was gonna say I can't even think of the name of their team, the Boston team. Um,
Uprising.
yeah, thank you, Boston Uprising. I wouldn't even know what a logo of theirs looked like. So, you know, so in that case, it made me aware of who Sandbox Gaming is from a really bad standpoint. So I still don't know that that qualifies as good press.
Hard to say.
So moving on to, we're going to blast through a bunch of announcements, premieres, changes, things like that. First up, some movie changes. Free Guy and Death on the Nile, which isn't necessarily a nerd movie, but I know Greg is interested, have been, the term is unset. They have no date. Now they will, obviously.
Push back.
Yeah, but they were both supposed to appear in December. Free Guy, the Ryan Reynolds movie, was filmed in Boston. Anybody who's ever been in the financial district knows that corner.
I'm just waiting for them to turn into a mini series on a streaming platform.
Well, it's a 2-hour movie, so it'd have to be a really mini series. And Death on the Nile was supposed to be December 18th. Now they are both, they have no date. So we'll keep you up to date on that. That is, of course, The Flash. And CW has set its premiere dates for pretty much all of its shows. It's got a bunch of stuff that's premiering that isn't anything that you would say applies to us as nerd topics, but Batwoman, with the new Batwoman, and more on that later, is January 17th, Sunday. Black Lightning, Monday, February 8th. The Flash, February 23rd, after Superman and Lois. So they are stretching these suckers out like crazy.
Oh, yes, they are.
From mid-February to the end, or from mid-January to the end of February. So it's coming back. If you're a fan, yay. If not, don't worry about it. And Sabrina, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, is coming back. Season 4 will be released on, he says it is January. No, January was the last one. December 31st. So might as well be January.
Wow.
4th season will be the last season. And yeah, there you go. Now, as I teased earlier, that right there, folks, is your very first look at Javicia Leslie, and if I'm mispronouncing her name, my apologies. If it's Javicia, but I'm pretty sure it's Javicia. In the new design for the Batwoman suit, which frankly isn't that really different.
Not at all.
But I'm loving the fact that they're basically going with this massive, mostly natural hair. Then they're not trying to force her into a red wig of any kind. This is really cool.
I've been following the controversy over this casting choice for a few months now. I even posted a meme on Facebook of this black nerd who was the mama critiquing the hair, and he had like his own patchy beard, and so I'm just like, wow. And the other night I was scrolling through YouTube, and I saw a clip of, I don't even remember the guy's name, but it was another black nerd YouTuber who was basically who was ranting about why are you doing this forced diversity. I don't understand why there's so much internal hatred for this character.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Um, you know, so
because so many
Well, I
white
kinda
guys
do
have
get it.
fragile egos.
yeah,
I do kind of get it from my own experience growing up. There's been a lot of media that has put this mentality into black men and women that their natural features are ugly. And while it's somewhat dissipated over the recent years, there's still it's still a thing. I hated my skin for the longest time as a kid because I got called everything from tar baby to monkey. You know, if there was a way to make me feel bad about who I was, someone in North Carolina would have done it. But that's not what this is about. That's where a lot of this stems from, though. It's like mass media has done, they plant the seeds and they're still spreading. And this is not how we move forward by judging black actresses who choose their own natural look. And it's like, if you want Kate Kane, you can read the comic.
yep.
Because there are some fans who were just like, why do you have to change her? Couldn't you get another white woman player? I'm like, read the comic.
Yeah.
Or rewatch the original series, the first season.
Yeah, they could have. They decided not to, and that's fine. Boy, these people are going to be really pissed when they realize that Wonder Woman is a Brazilian of mixed ethnicity. It looks like, and Batman's black. So they're going to be really.
But more on that later.
More on that later. Luminous, great Batwoman image. Yes, I agree. Great Batwoman and great Batwoman image. This is kind of a tangent, but not. It's kind of related to what you were saying, Byron. Scrolling through YouTube the other day, and somebody posted up what they call the best 1 minute and 30 seconds of comedy ever on television. And it was a bit in, can't remember the name of the show, 70s black high school comedy with Rerun in it.
Oh, What's Happening?
What's Happening?
Yep.
And it was a bit where one of the kids, like the nerdy black kid who had Roger, gets up in front of the class and does a dance, sings and dances like a karaoke kind of singing, and he's awful. He's horrible. He is so bad. It's wonderful to watch, and he just commits to it, and it's a minute and a half of him committing to this. And I was thinking, man, the early into mid 70s, basically until 80s, until Reagan got in there, was an absolute peak of black entertainment on television.
Oh yeah, because you had blaxploitation films, which really saved Hollywood.
Yep.
Because black people were allowed to tell their stories.
Yeah, but even
and
but in television specifically, where you had things like What's Happening and then its follow on, so many fantastic shows that were literally all about just black families, black schools, black
leads, more than anything else. Nell Carter's "Give Me a Break."
Yep.
She was she was playing a housekeeper, but she was also the maternal figure of that cast.
Yep. Or Benson.
Oh, absolutely.
Benson was the absolute protagonist of that show.
He truly was, and Robert Guillaume, who was a fantastic actor, definitely made that one of the most iconic
Yep.
black characters in pop culture.
So hopefully, hopefully we'll see a resurgence of that. I mean, we've started to see some of it with Black Lightning and
Yes.
particularly in the nerd space, and Blackish and other comedies on television on regular
And
broadcast.
even in cinema with Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah, or yes, absolutely. Or thank God for Jordan Peele.
Right.
But anyway, now moving on from that, as we said earlier, you will get to see Javicia as Batwoman Sunday, January 17th. That's when that premieres. So we kind of alluded to some of this earlier. That right there is the non-binary character that is going to be the Flash in the upcoming, what are they calling this? The Future State.
Future State.
Now, this is a crossover type event that apparently affects all of the DC titles. And essentially, it's a point in the future where all of your, the main core characters, the leaders of the Justice League, are all different people. This is Jess Chambers, also known as Kid Quick. And I guess this is on an Earth 11, according to this thing. And this will be the Flash of the Future State Justice League. But all the characters are just so radically different. And it's absolutely wonderful. The Justice League doesn't look anything like what you would expect. And like I said, you've got a Brazilian woman of obviously mixed ancestry who is going to be Wonder Woman. Batman is absolutely, a black man. The only question is which black man?
Yeah, rumors are leaning more towards Luke Fox.
Yep, Lucius Fox's son. I'm all for it. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, me too. I have I have a couple of things points I want to make about it. One, in what is clearly a nod towards nepotism, Jonathan Kent is going to be future Superman.
Okay, I was wondering who future Superman was. I didn't see that in any of the stuff that I saw following on this.
I mean, and I don't really have a problem with it because I like Jonathan Kent as a character. He's he's very much a product of his family's values.
Now,
go ahead. And so he's every bit as noble as his father and every bit as snarky as his mom.
Have you seen who the new female Black Green Lantern is?
Oh yeah, I've seen the pictures of her. I don't really know much about her though.
Yep.
She's got a really cool costume though.
Oh yeah, all these costume redesigns are fantastic.
My other point that I wanted to make: the whole future state thing seems a bit derivative of a similar event they did in the '90s, DC 1 Million.
I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, it was from it was in the millionth century, I believe. Wonder Woman was from Venus, and she was made of marble. Well, she was made of some Venusian equivalent of marble. Superman was. I don't remember who Superman was, but he definitely was different from Clark Kent. Batman was from Pluto.
If it's a millionth century, so that's 100 million years, there's not going to be humans around. I mean, come on. They were not going to be human at all, or human looking. So, but whatever. It's
and this was way before Green Lantern Rebirth, and in which there was another person there was a new Green Lantern who had Kyle's ring.
Okay. From 100 million years ago. All right.
Yes.
Sure. Anyway, Luminous asks, I wish Marvel would have more multiverse crossovers. Maybe they have and I missed it. I think Into the Spider-Verse is the main crossover I've seen. So Spider-Man is where most of the multiversal crossover stuff happens in Marvel Comics. And the comics have had that happen a couple of times. And those events are always really amazing. Like Into the Spider-Verse times 100.
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars, kind of not really. The most recent one. Yeah, that's true. The most recent one. The problem with the most recent one is it's really hard to get through because you've got to start with all the Jonathan Hickman, New Avengers, Illuminati stuff to understand what's happening to the multiple universes and how they're collapsing before you get to the Secret Wars, Battle Worlds, Doom as a God.
And Cap's riding a dinosaur. And Cap's riding a dinosaur.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really fun stuff. The Wolverine stories were great. The Thors was fantastic. A-Force, which came out of that, was wonderful.
I love A-Force.
But a lot of it was just really pretty stupid. Forcing characters and titles to try to fit into this idea of, there's now sort of one massive world that has different sections that all of which are controlled by Doom, and they're all different kinds of places. Techno world, jungle world, blah, blah, blah. It's sort of like a Disneyland. If you want, Luminous, if you get a chance, dig up, if you can find them digital, any of the Squadron Supreme short runs or miniseries. Squadron Supreme is literally a multiverse version of the Justice League that was first introduced in the 1970s in the Avengers, basically so the Avengers can beat the crap out of the Justice League.
Oh yes, I have that one on my computer actually.
Yeah, it's a fun title. The first one when they're really villains, and the second one where it's made pretty clear that they were just sort of tricked into attacking the Avengers. So they're sort of villains. The miniseries that followed on after that, it just fantastic. It gets really dark. Including one in the Marvel Mature title, that Marvel Max, that is essentially The Boys before The Boys. It's brutal. Lithak, welcome to the show, and I'm sorry the I don't understand what you're writing because I don't read Arabic or any of the other texts that you're putting in here. I guess they're all Arabic. And unfortunately, apparently either YouTube does and is holding them. So some of the messages I'm just going to clear out because if YouTube says they need to be hidden, then I'm going to hide them.
Yeah. I was going to bring up a point about the JLA versus Avengers. One of my favorite moments was the encounter between Batman and Captain America.
Well, so that's not what the Squadron Supreme is. That's an actual different title in which there was a crossover event between the two publishers, where the JLA actually did fight the Avengers. The Squadron Supreme was a JLA analog. Hyperion instead of Superman, and things like that.
Oh right, yes.
Where basically it was Marvel saying, we're gonna come up with a way where we can just kick these people while they're down. It came out within years of the settlement of the Shazam lawsuit. So Marvel went, hey, we own Captain Marvel now, lock, stock, and barrel. So let's see if we can just rub some salt in the wounds. So anyway, moving on. That right there is the first images of the main character from the anime Yasuke. And the news is that Yasuke is going to be voiced by the amazing Lakeith Stanfield.
Stanfield.
Speaking of Sorry to Bother You,
Yes.
and Knives Out, and of course, the best thing about the Netflix Death Note.
Definitely.
But so what Yasuke is actually an anime about the an actual historical figure during the historical period of Japan with Oda Nobunaga.
Nobunaga. Yes.
And he is an African, an actual African who wound up in Japan and became a samurai. And they're making an anime about it. Mappa is doing it. The studio Mappa.
Ooh.
Yeah, Mappa.
Mappa's amazing. One of my favorite studios.
They're doing some really good stuff right now. Mappa's got some fantastic shows going on right now. And you know, I'm liking this idea as a concept, as a design, as a cast, and the studio behind it. Yay!
One thing that I've noticed from like the aesthetic that they're going for, this is definitely historical fiction, like at its finest, because you can like even now you can look up pictures of what Yasuke really looked like, and it's completely different from the appearance he is going to have in this anime.
Yeah.
So maybe he'll have a happier ending in the series.
I didn't. Don't spoil anything. I didn't put up a picture of Nobunaga only because we're concentrating on this. But the design of Nobunaga almost looks a little bit like Loki. Not Japanese in any way that I can think of. So I mean, other than the character looks Japanese, but it's pretty odd design choice. But still, I like it. I mean, it's it's historical fiction. It's anime historical fiction.
Yes.
If you want realistic anime historical fiction, go watch Golden Kamuy.
Oh yes.
Can't
highly
recommend that show
series.
enough.
I just love the overall design of him, and the blue and yellow really sets it off for him.
The only yellow is really in the sword, but yeah.
The belt's not yellow?
Well, I mean, so I see it as sort of a gray or like a very dark ivory.
Okay.
But I could be wrong. And this isn't just, these are the character designs, so who knows what it'll look like by the time they actually do hit. They do hit what? Do we know where they're landing? Netflix. Which would make sense since they've cast an American voice actor
for the
role. So it's definitely historical fantasy fiction. There's mechs, magic, et cetera, et cetera. So
it's like Samurai Champloo cranked up to 11.
Yeah. Well, yeah, except so one of the things about Samurai Champloo is that it actually made so many accurate historical references while the main character, breakdanced and the music was hip hop, and he tagged buildings. So the only real crazy anachronism is Mugen, and what he did. The fact that he fought in a breakdancing style.
Well, I mean, you had like the side characters who would like beatbox who would just beatbox and rap.
Right. Yeah. So the music, but as far as there weren't mechs. There was not really magic. I mean, no more so than the ability to fight, insanely, in Samurai Champloo. So it's a little different, I think. But again,
it's definitely different.
Speaking of anime, if you have $1 billion, you can do what Sony is doing, and you can buy Crunchyroll. $957 million
Jeez.
according to Nikkei Asia, to buy Crunchyroll. Apparently, Sony was one of some function of Sony was production or the producers behind Demon Slayer. So they are making anime, or at least one of the primary funders behind anime. So I guess they think it makes sense for them to have a platform.
My question about this is, what does it mean for Verve?
Verve, remind everybody what Verve was.
Yeah, Verve is.
Or is.
Yeah, Verve is it's a conglomeration of various nerdy pop culture channels, such as, RIP Channel Frederator. Yeah, like you have some stuff from their original content channel called Cartoon Hangover. You have stuff from Rooster Teeth. You've got, and of course, anime. We have in its initial release, you had Funimation and Crunchyroll combining like their licenses together, where you had Funimation doing nearly all the dubs and Crunchyroll handling the subtitle stuff. Then when Sony bought Funimation, they split. They had to split away from Verve, and High Dive filled in that slot. And I'm wondering what that's going to mean for High Dive in the service as well. Like, are they going to break contract, or are they going to still go along with this?
As a guess, I'm going to assume that Sony's going to break every contract they can. I mean, Sony has a track record of loving the concept of exclusivity.
Yeah, they do.
So, as long as it doesn't A, increase my cost for Crunchyroll, or B, reduce the number of shows I can watch on Crunchyroll, then kind of don't care who the corporate overlord is.
Yeah, I mean, no ethical consumption.
Yes. Always watch shows that you pay for. We do not recommend that you find alternative streaming services. Not that there are many of them left.
No. According to the news.
According to the news.
Not extensive research.
Extensive research, exactly. So, yeah. I mean, if you do a little more extensive research, you'll be able to find a place to get your free fix. But it's not quite as easy as it was, and you shouldn't be doing it anyway.
Nope.
Moving on to our penultimate topic. So that's the Mud Skipper, and the news is that Bioware announced they are going to be putting out in 2021 a remastered Mass Effect. They're calling it the Legendary Edition, remastered for modern consoles and PCs, optimized for 4K Ultra HD. It'll include single player base content and DLC from Mass Effect, Mass Effect 2, and Mass Effect 3.
Wow.
And then they're adding like promo weapons, armors, and packs, of course, so you can pay more, because they want you to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Spring 2021 for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, with forward compatibility and targeted enhancements down the road for Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5.
Nice.
Interesting that they're not waiting for the next gen consoles to be fully out there. I guess they want to sell a lot of copies before the holidays.
I think
of course they do.
Well, no, it won't be coming out until 2021. Even the
Sorry, as soon as I said that, I realized it's next year.
But spring of 2021. So just in time for maybe people actually able to get together and see each other. Here's a reason to stay home. I love Mass Effect 3. I played 2, but my computer was so bad at the time that I don't know that I ever even completed the game. I mean, literally don't know, because it played so poorly.
I love the games as well. I have never completed the trilogy though, because when I owned them, I had an Xbox. I had an Xbox 360, and it was the classic model.
Yeah, that's I don't. Would that even play 3?
Um, it not when it definitely can't do it when it has a red ring.
Well, yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, if you get the red ring of death, yeah, you're done. Um, I really like this series. I love the idea of narrative storytelling, science fiction RPGs done smart, like really smart. I'm a big fan of everything about this series, including the nebulous and not necessarily ever good ending of Mass Effect 3. I mean, the idea that you kind of can't get a good ending. Um, I like that. I like that kind of difficult storytelling. And I'm looking forward to doing it on a modern, now that I have actually a modern computer, and enjoying it. You know, even, since I don't have a 4K monitor, I'm going to be getting, 120, 240 frames per second or something like that, since I won't be able to kick it all the way up to 4K. So, yay. Smooth game playing experience. Anybody, which one of these is your favorite? Which one of the Mass Effect games? Anybody?
I probably say 2. Just because it found its the games found their footing in part 2, and I loved all the new characters, especially the co-captain. I forget her name though. She wore a white suit.
Yeah, begins with an M. Miranda.
Yeah. Oh yes, I loved her, and I loved Talia.
Yep.
I mean Kalia.
Yeah, from what I vaguely remember about the parts that I could play of 2, I really liked it. But again, I couldn't get through it. So 3 is my jam. Greg, did you play any of the Mass Effect games?
Shockingly enough, I have not. But I may need to. God, what have I got? I bought a new Xbox last year, so obviously not the Series X, the Series One, but it's good news that they'll work. It might be a good title to pick up.
Yep, strike while the kettle's hot.
Yeah. Knowing what you like about science fiction, you would like these games.
Indeed.
Yeah, I don't know why it just never was on my radar for some reason. It's definitely in my wheelhouse.
Yeah. All right, our last topic. And this topic has changed since I put it on the docket a couple of times. That is a black screen. That is, of course, Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. And the news is that he has been dropped from the Fantastic Beasts series after a decision by a UK court in which he was suing the Sun. He was suing which crappy newspaper?
The Sun.
The Sun.
The New York Post of UK.
Yeah. For their description of him as using the term, quote, wife beater. And he lost that suit. The UK courts found that apparently in the United Kingdom he has in fact been convicted of domestic abuse, and therefore it's accurate for him to be described that way. Warner Brothers said thanks, but no thanks. He will not be in the upcoming movie. It has been kicked out to 2022 because of that. And the very latest thing, and thank you, Greg, for just pointing this out and having it, drop right before we went live. Apparently, Mads Mikkelsen is in talks to replace Depp in the third Fantastic Beasts movie as Grindelwald, according to inside sources reported here at Deadline. Yeah, inside sources.
In talks.
Yeah.
It's not confirmed by any stretch.
I
but
mean, he would be an
this has
interesting
all
choice.
been moving pretty quick.
I haven't seen any of the Fantastic Beasts movies. I haven't heard great things about them, and considering the walking dumpster fire that its creator is these days, I'm not going to pay money to watch it.
Yeah, and that's a whole other topic. Yeah, J.K. Rowling, who wants to give her money? Yeah, so I can tell you, the first movie I thought was fun, although overly long. The second movie was just awful.
They broke
Never
all
saw
the
it.
rules
Can't do it.
from the books.
Well, yeah, but the second movie basically was almost entirely a movie about, hey, let's put in explanations about things that happen in the future in the actual Harry Potter books that nobody needs. And that's almost what the script is. And people do heel turns that make no sense, and it's just garbage.
Like I said before, I didn't watch the movies, but I've seen reviews on it, and the points that you're making were basically made.
Yep.
There's a lot of needless retcons in these movies.
I mean, it strikes me as pretty clear that, I mean, we talked about this a while ago on one of our other shows where J.K. Rowling continually doubled down and had a chance to at least say nothing, but instead chose to dig out pull out the shovel and dig herself a deeper hole.
Why
that
not?
Warner Brothers made a very anodyne remark about we embrace all of our paying customers, regardless of gender identity or orientation, etc.
Oh, gag me with the
But
spoon.
they clearly, I mean, no movie production company wants the kind of negative press and bad publicity that she has drummed up, intentionally or otherwise. She was very much on the Johnny Depp train. She came out very publicly in support of him when a lot of this story was first gaining speed. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. You
The
can't
thing
seem to catch a
that's
break.
the thing that's galling as hell. I mean, this is how contracts work, so whatever. But I don't know if either of you have seen the report that for all that he's filmed, I think maybe one or two early scenes, and he's being replaced, which means reshoots, etc. He still gets his entire $10 million pay package for having started production on the film, even though he's leaving.
Yep.
I'd like somebody to pay me $10 million to walk away from literally anything. Rodney, nothing personal. If somebody wrote me a check for $10 million, I'd walk away from Nerd Caliber.
Somebody wrote me a check for $10 million. Me and Manny would walk away from Nerd Caliber in a second.
Same.
So, it's he's got a good lawyer, clearly, or good manager, or whoever did the contract negotiations. I can't imagine that's a standard Warner Brothers thing. That if we fire you with only, in fact, I know it isn't, because they sue people all the time for things like this, and they're not suing Depp. They're actually paying him out. One of the big controversies is that the other side of this whole wife beater thing, his former wife Amber Heard, is also being accused by Depp of spousal abuse, and also lying about his domestic abuse. Is being sued in the U.S. courts for that. And there are an awful lot of people that are pretty upset that he's been booted off of Fantastic Beasts, while Amber Heard is currently doing, can't even call them reshoots, because, no, actually that's true. She was in Justice League, but is doing reshoots for Justice League for Zack Snyder right now. And the difference is, I guess, is that one of the cases has been settled, and that the UK courts found against Depp, and no court has found against Amber Heard yet.
Yep.
But this really looks like it's either a he said she said, they're both horrible people, or like a lot of people who are in Depp's camp, she basically is manipulating everything.
I mean, what I can surmise from this whole episode is that Johnny Depp didn't say anything right away. He did the work to try to prove his innocence. So I'm a little more inclined to believe him.
Yeah, I frankly think that they're both accurate. I think they're both telling the truth, that both of them are abusers.
They were probably just horrible for each other.
Yeah. Frankly, I have a friend who was in a situation. His wife was literally a spousal abuser, and he wound up in jail for a while because he finally one time couldn't take it anymore, and after she broke literally an old-fashioned, cradle and handset phone over his head, he hit her. And
I'm getting Gone Girl flashbacks.
This was decades and decades and decades ago. So,
well, even with the whole Depp thing, I'm getting Gone Girl. I'm getting Gone Girl vibes because
I mean, Amber Heard. I don't think Amber Heard is smart enough to be able to pull off something like that. She certainly doesn't seem like that to me. But again, I'm not going to come down on either side of this. I've admired Johnny Depp as an actor forever.
Same.
Get him out of Tim Burton's hands. Lately, if you want to watch what the two of them can do, go watch Ed Wood.
Fair.
Freaking genius, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, completely, strictly from a filmmaking standpoint, enough with Johnny Depp in this stuff already. I don't think he brings anything to this. For all that it could be, if I saw the first Fantastic Beasts, I didn't see the second one. I agree, Rodney. The first one was fun. It was a little much. There was nothing wrong with it. It was cute, but it's the Hobbit to the Lord of the Rings, if you will.
Yeah, I can see that.
So does Depp bring anything to this role at this point? I don't think so. Mads Mikkelsen is potentially a great replacement, depending on how they work the angles and how they work him into things. He's a fantastic actor, pardon the pun, all on his own right,
and a fantastic beast.
Exactly. So yeah, it's
yep.
What else is there to say?
Exactly. That is literally it's like move on. If Mads comes in, maybe it's going to even be a better movie. I doubt it. I don't, because the actors were never the problem with these movies.
Yeah, they need better writers, definitely.
Yep.
I offer my services.
Yeah, there you go. Give it a shot. They've delayed production, so who knows? At least they're going to have to write in one scene that mentions poly potion juice or whatever that's called. To explain.
Yeah, I think it is poly potion.
Yeah.
Polyjuice potion.
Polyjuice potion.
That's
to explain the difference in look, but other than that, so that's it, folks. That's our show. We've gone way long, but I figured we would because there was a ton of news to get to, and we actually dropped a lot of stuff like the Hagar the Horrible and anyway. So thank you all for tuning in. If you have watched The Witches and you want to chat with us about all sorts of spoilery stuff about what The Witches is about and what we like, don't like, themes, stupid decisions for design. We talked about that tonight too. Tune in Thursday, 8 o'clock. All of these same social media thingies. And then otherwise, next Tuesday, we'll be back on with the next Nerd Week Live. So let's see. Let's go the other way. My bald brother, say goodnight.
Have a good one, everybody. We will see you. I'll probably be here Thursday for the first spoiler movie, first full fat spoiler chat. And if we don't see you then, I'll see you next Tuesday.
And Mr. Byron.
I will also be in attendance at full fat spoiler chat. So I'll see you then. Peace out.
Awesome. And for me and for everybody else at Nerd Caliber, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you later. Stay safe. And okay, I'm going to close on this. The numbers are climbing. There are hospitals in cities, like entire cities, where the hospitals have reached capacity. In Arizona, in Michigan. Wear that mask. Wash those hands. Treat this like last March, folks, or last April. Now, it's gonna get worse, and the projections that I'm seeing from some of these experts are that it's gonna get much worse than it was at its peak in May and June. So, yeah. Stay safe.
Wear a friggin' mask.
Wear a freaking mask. That's, yeah, and that's it. So, preaching done.